chocolate chip cookies. Let's do a stack. Welcome back to Dip Bakes. Today we're going to make chocolate chip cookies. It is a pretty straightforward recipe. Honestly, I feel like it's a little finicky just because I've made it several times and sometimes it comes out a little bit different and I don't know why. But I'll talk through that as we bake it. For this recipe we'll need flour, sugar, softened butter, vanilla, eggs, baking powder, baking soda, chocolate, and flaky sea salt. Okay, look at this camera setup. Okay, I gotta try not to look at myself. So we've got 2 cameras set up today. I guess I should turn the other one on and then maybe start the video at the same time. Okay, we've got 2 cameras going officially now, so we can cut to the audio and then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is cream our butter and sugar. And so today we are using our stand mixer because I figured it would be much quicker than using the hand mixer. And real quick, I think I'm going to adjust this camera so you can see the chaos that is happening all around you. Definitely more difficult using 2 cameras, mostly because they take up a lot more space. But I think it'll be more interesting when we edit. So I'm using a ½ cup of butter. My block of butter is a cup, so I'm going to measure it out just to make sure that I don't put in too much. And a ½ cup of butter is about 113 grams. So that's what we're going to measure. And then this recipe has a lot of different sugar in it, which is a good thing because it makes a good cookie, but then on the other side, it's really like, it's not a great recipe to kind of like multiply because I feel like you get into a lot of waste just because it uses 2 egg yolks and 1 egg, and so that's kind of like a lot of egg whites if you keep going and want to make multiple batches of it. So I recommend that we just do 1 batch, maybe 2. Alright, here's our butter. And then, yeah, we'll go ahead and cream this. And if I can get it in the mixer. We're using brown sugar. Light brown sugar is what it lists, but I mean, you only have dark brown, it's fine. Powdered sugar and our regular caster sugar. So, alright, we got our ½ cup of butter. We're going to do 3/4 cup of brown sugar. If you do dark brown sugar, you're just going to have a little bit more of a molasses taste in your cookie. And I've used both and I don't think it's that noticeable. And this is going to be packed down, so you want to just make sure that it's all the way into the measuring cup before you put it in. And I'll add the grams to this in the video description because I do not have those in front of me. And I'm not sure how the grams of brown sugar correlates to like the grams of caster sugar. Alright, and then we're going to use a ½ cup of our regular sugar here. I'm sorry, I'm just going to reach. You know, video number 2, as we go along, we're only going to get better. So thank you for bearing with me at this point, for watching along, for watching me grow. Got any tips and tricks? Of course I'll take it. And then we're going to put in a 4th cup. And I just mix the sugars of powdered sugar. I'm not going to worry about like getting a clean measuring cup or anything like that. And yes, my phone does take like all the hits from everything I bake, so it's constantly being cleaned, which is probably good for it, so I don't get mad about it. So we're going to go ahead and cream this. Using the stand mixer makes it easier for us because we're going to, while it's creaming, set up our dry ingredients. So we're going to turn that on. That going. Just letting it cream right now. I'm going to get my spatula. You always want to take the time to regularly scrape down your bowl I like to use the paddle attachment for most things, with the exception of like dough. Obviously, if you need to use a whisk or something, that's perfectly fine. I don't really think the paddle and a whisk have that big of a difference, except it's just easier to kind of get things in and out of the paddle attachment. And it might make more surface area with the bowl, I'm not sure. Alright, so this is coming together really well. Just scraping the bottom, make sure everything's in there. And obviously this is going to be darker than your normal creamed butter and sugar because it has brown sugar in it. Definitely still chunks of butter, so we're going to keep it moving. Okay. Alright, so I feel pretty good about this. I said I was going to go ahead and do the dry ingredients, but I didn't want the mixer to drown me out. I'm not cool enough yet to have a mic, so we're just going to go through it step by step. You know what I forgot to do? Turn the oven on. So turn your oven on. It goes on 375. So luckily my oven heats up pretty fast, so it's not a big deal, but that's definitely the first step that you want to do. We're going to separate out our egg whites. Well, our egg yolks, whatever. The easiest method I found is just cracking the egg in half the best you can, and then kind of tossing that yolk back and forth to make sure there's no whites attached to it. Alright, so 2 egg yolks, and then 1 full egg is what we're doing. And if you notice that your yolk starts to like fall apart, just dump it in here. Especially in a recipe where you have a whole egg and egg yolks, you don't have to stress as much about like accidentally getting in a little bit of white or anything like that, because I just pretend like, oh, that other egg was just really big, so that's why there's extra egg white or egg yolk or whatever. Alright, and then we're going to add in our vanilla, so let me see how much vanilla we need. A teaspoon. Alright, so see if we finally use the rest of our vanilla. I don't think so. That's probably like a teaspoon and a half that's left. Alright, so we're going to whip this together. I'm going to put away my egg whites while I does that. Definitely needs to be scraped down. There's plenty of stuff at the bottom here, so just make sure we get all of that. And I'm going to emphasize using like a firm spatula. A rubber spatula is great, of course, or silicone, whatever's flexible, so you can get in those around the corners well. And then you want it to be stiff enough that you can kind of scrape it as well. I found that that's way better than really anything else. I have a few different plastic spatulas, so. Want to make sure that everything is really well incorporated here before we add the dry, because the dry, if you overmix that, is what can make your cookie tough. So you don't want to overmix the dry. Make sure the wet is all the way mixed. Okay. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm gonna get a little plate for my spoon. Alright, and then we're going to do our dry ingredients. So this is kind of like where this recipe gets finicky, because it takes a cup and a half of flour, and if you do the measurement, like 180 grams, it doesn't seem like it has enough flour. So I think it's really more like 240 grams or 2 cups of flour, but I just do like a heavy scoop of a cup and a half, and I feel like that's pretty accurate. So I'm just going to grab my measuring cups because I'm so prepared. We're going to do a heavy scoop of flour. That's 1 cup. And we're going to do our half cup. We're just all the way. I could measure that, but I didn't tear out the container, so we're just going to assume that that's, it really looks, I mean, if you look at it, it's pretty close to like 2 cups when you look at the measurement on here. So, anywho, teaspoon of baking powder, a half teaspoon of salt, and then a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. I think it's really interesting that this recipe has baking soda in it because it does not have any like acid. And usually baking soda is used with an acid like buttermilk. So it's just really interesting that it does not have an acid but has baking soda. But the cookies taste good, so I'm not gonna knock it. Okay, so I'm just gonna double check, make sure I've got everything in here. It's a great practice to do. Just go through the ingredient list, make sure everything's in here somewhere. And we're just gonna mix these dry ingredients together. Just kind of make sure they're fully integrated. And then while this is going, add those in. The biggest therapy part of this bake is crushing the chocolate. So I'm going to make some space over here on the other side of the counter really quick. Alright, and then we're going to switch to this camera. Oh my freaking gosh, the card's full. I'm dying. The hardest thing about this camera is it doesn't tell me how much like space it has. The other one will tell me like, oh, you can record for 20 minutes. This one doesn't say that, so it's really, I don't really know. Alright, so our therapy for this is chopping the chocolate. I think there's a cute way you can do this with a knife. But I just take my trusty measuring cup. We can turn this so you can see me over here too. Ooh. Hey. Oh look, there's the other camera. So now you can see both angles. But yeah, take your trusty measuring cup and just beat the crap out of it. Kind of how it's going. Oh, and then if chocolate starts to fall out, that's a good sign. Yeah, get that aggression out of some chocolate, make some great cookies. I mean, it's a win-win, right? Alright, so we're going to adjust this back. Okay. Hello. Okay. Alright, so we're about done with the mixer. I mean, we're not about done, we are done with the mixer. So we're actually going to just make sure this paddle is pretty well cleaned off. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, quick note about the chocolate. I like to use dark chocolate, so yeah, this is 72% cacao. Probably wouldn't go higher than that just because it might be too bitter. But you, of course, can try and let me know. I've used milk chocolate before. Way too sweet for me. It makes the cookies way too sweet. Great for maybe like a kid's birthday party, but for my coworkers, I mean, I don't know, maybe they would like it. But for me, personally, it's too sweet. So I like to use dark chocolate. I mean, I don't even really eat milk chocolate, so yeah, if you don't like dark chocolate, maybe stick with milk, but yeah. So this recipe actually calls for 8 ounces of chocolate, but chocolate comes, at least like this kind of chocolate comes in 3.5 ounces. I've never felt like there wasn't enough chocolate, and honestly, I think I like kind of having less chocolate in my cookies anyway. So, you know, do you. If you want to mix in other things, that's perfectly fine, of course, too. I would just keep the ratio the same. So I don't know, maybe this is like a half cup of chocolate. So then you would just want, maybe it's a cup. I think it's probably more like a cup of chocolate. So you probably just want to make sure it's like still a cup of whatever you're putting in. Unless you want extra, that's fine too. The good thing about cookie dough, it's really like malleable. You can add a bunch of stuff to it. Alright. And so, yeah, it doesn't have to be too small. What's really fun is like the little pieces will just melt and kind of like, I don't know, then you have chocolate all throughout the cookie. The big pieces sometimes can be like I don't know, too much. Sometimes I've had like a bite of a cookie where there's like a layer of 2 pieces of chocolate on top of each other, and that's kind of a lot. And I think I might switch to my other spatula. Hold please. Play some cute hold music. Boop a doop boop. Boop bop boop boop. Alright, so we're just gonna fold this in. And we just want to make sure we get chocolate throughout. Also, yes, this is the best. Like, it's literally a KitchenAid spatula. I'm not sponsored by KitchenAid yet. But it works so well. I've used this for like all sorts of like really thick doughs, and it just has never failed me. The only thing is it's a wooden handle, so you have to hand wash it, but that's okay. I will hand wash this little wooden stick. Okay. So there's that. I feel like this is pretty good, and we can make sure it's like even better distributed when we scoop it out. And then we're going to pretend like we already prepared the pans, and we're going to scoop this out. Okay, I love it. This is the microwave cam. And then we have the baking sheet cam. Alright, let me get a sheet because I'm not even prepared. Alright, so we're just going to use your standard baking sheet for this. We're going to go ahead and cover it with parchment paper. And then, since we're becoming a professional, we're going to use our scoop for the cookie dough. And so I usually just do like a tablespoon, but we're going to try this out, see how it goes, because we're all about learning things here. So that's what we're going to do. Put that over there in my chaos. So I'm just going to do a like really flat scoop. That's going to be a big cookie. Nothing wrong with it. This will probably make 12. You can definitely make these smaller. If I make them smaller, I typically only get like 18. But I think, you can make them even smaller, right? You can get 12. Or, sorry, you get 24. Also, more cookies is probably better for me because they'll be easier to get rid of, essentially. That's not what I meant to say. Less cookies will be better because they'll be easier to get rid of if I only have a dozen versus 2 dozen at work. Okay, these look absolutely beautiful. Again, I'm not sure exactly about the scoop size. I would imagine it's about 3.5 ounces. I'll just do us all a favor and I'll just measure it today when I'm done. So we're going to do 2 trays of these. You could put 2 trays in the oven at the same time. I do not trust my oven. I know for a fact it has hot spots, so I'm not going to put in both at the same time. And I hope I'm in focus. I didn't actually check that. But anyways, so we have our flaky sea salt here. If you don't have flaky sea salt, regular salt is just fine. This salt is honestly super strong, so I'm just going to put on like the smallest amount. I usually do like a healthy like pinch with regular salt, but this salt is like extra salty, so I'm just going to do a very little amount. And because these cookies are so big, like look how big these pieces of salt are. I don't know, it only takes like 8 minutes for me to bake these cookies, but since they're big it might take a little bit longer, but we're going to just put them in for 8, check them, and then see how they turn out. So let me just adjust this. Once again, in the middle rack. Alright. Oven's on 375. We're going to do 8 minutes. And I will check back in with you then. Alright, so we're going to take a peek at these. Oh, they're massive. And they are not done yet, but they're almost done. Alright, so our timer just went off again. I went ahead and shaped the other cookies. These things are huge. These are like bakery cookies. You definitely don't have to make them this big. And they might not look done. They're definitely soft, and you want to wait until these cool really like all the way. The inside is very wet. Put those in there. We did 9 minutes, so that's what we'll do again. And so these can chill for just a minute on the baking sheet, and then we will put them on the tray and then we'll let them cool all the way down, and then we'll try one. Alright, so these have been chilling for almost 2 minutes now, and you can already tell how much more they've settled. And so they kind of fall into themselves, and they have a nice crispy outside with a nice chewy inside. So that's why these cookies are great. If you wanted like a bigger, kind of fluffier cookie, you could always add more flour. I would just start kind of like maybe a half cup at a time and see what kind of cookie you're looking for. Also, if this isn't the recipe for you, that's totally okay, but this is my absolute favorite cookie, and everybody I give it to absolutely loves it, so haven't had any complaints about it. Come on. So, yeah, it's like, you gotta be really careful because they're so soft. I don't know how hot it is, so hot. Then we'll come back for that one. I don't want it to break. It's the chocolate's getting stuck on the spatula. I'm gonna make it so you don't have to go as far. There we go. And yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of why you want to wait to eat it. That one is falling apart. Sounds great. Can't wait to eat it. Just because, yeah, it's just going to be kind of a mess. You can bake them longer if you want to, obviously. It's just like the next day, the cookie will be like really hard. Harder than I would like. You know, it's a crispy cookie, but not for me. So I like them soft, let them cool, and then tomorrow they're like the perfect gooey texture. And yeah, I mean, I think this is why the recipe is so finicky. I mean, but I can't help it. The cookies are delicious when you make them the right way. So here we are. Alright, so I'm going to let the other cookies finish baking. I'm going to clean up my kitchen, let these cool, and then once they cool, we'll come back and we'll taste them. Alright, so the cookies have cooled nicely, and let's go ahead and try one. We're going to try the one that I beat up before, so it's super messy, but like, look at that chocolate. Yep. That's delicious. So much chocolate. This is my note about how much chocolate to put in. You can do the full 8 ounces. 7 is fine. And if you love chocolate, you can definitely do more. I'm making a mess. I'm gonna need a napkin. Alright, so there you have it. That is my chocolate chip cookie recipe. If you bake it, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how it goes for you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. My coworkers are gonna get happy. These are great with a glass of milk.